Nightingale, nightingale, sing of joy through the night. Teach my heart to impart everywhere your delight. Sing of moon rays on the rain, sing that love's not in vain. Every grief, every wrong has its ending in song. The voice of God calls us to awake in Him. How will He find us when He comes?
Awake and ready.
And when He asks us to dedicate our lives ever more perfectly to Him, how will He find us?
Awake and ready.
Let's begin with a prayer together. Heavenly Father,
Heavenly Father,
Divine Mother,
Divine Mother,
friend, beloved God,
friend, beloved God,
great masters of self-realization,
great masters of self-realization,
Lord Jesus Christ,
Lord Jesus Christ,
Krishna Babaji,
Krishna Balaji,
Lahiri Mahashaya,
Lahiri Mahashaya,
Swami Shri Yukteswarji,
Swami Shri Yukteswarji,
Gurudeva,
Gurudeva,
Paramahansa Yoganandaji,
Paramahansa Yoganandaji,
saints and sages of all religions,
saints and sages of all
we
religions,
invoke thy blessing.
we invoke thy blessings.
During this new year,
During this new year,
awaken within us
awaken within
a
us
greater determination
a greater determination
to find thee,
to find thee,
hidden within ourselves
hidden within ourselves,
and in all life.
in all lives.
Guide us,
Guide us,
direct our lives,
direct our
that
lives,
we might become one with thee,
that we might become one with thee,
one with the Christ consciousness,
one with the Christ consciousness,
the Lord of Lords,
the Lord of
the
Lords,
King of Kings,
the King of Kings,
dwelling within ourselves.
dwelling within ourselves.
Oh,
Oh,
peace.
peace.
Amen.
Amen.
Please be seated.
Keep calling, keep calling, keep calling, whether he replies or not, keep calling. In the temple of unceasing prayer, believe that He's approaching there, and call to Him. Keep calling Him. Thou dost know who I'm praying for. You know I love no other. I'll speak not nor ask when to expect from you answer. You know my heart. I'll call to thee again. Keep
meditative state, listen to the quality of the weak. High-mindedness. People often speak of cynicism as the mark of realism. In fact, in a universe without any visible center, one might justifiably develop his understanding of it from any conceivable starting point. One's understanding, however, will only reflect who and what he himself is. A view from the depths lacks the perspective that can be achieved from the heights. From the mountaintop, all things are seen in their true proportion. Strive always to be a channel for high thoughts and inspirations. Never cooperate with anything petty or mean. Remember, the universe is for each human being both a mirror and an affirmation. One who entertains high thoughts will be himself ignoble. Please affirm with me first with a strong, energetic voice. I will see goodness in everything.
I will see goodness in everything.
I will view the world around me
I will view the world around me,
not from the depths of matter attachment,
not from the depths of matter attachment,
but from the heights of divine aspiration.
but from the heights of divine aspiration.
Now a little bit softer. I will see goodness in everything.
I will see goodness in everything.
I will view the world around me,
I will view the world around me,
not from the depths of matter attachment,
not from the depths of matter attachment,
but from the heights of divine aspiration.
but from the heights of divine aspiration.
Now just with a whisper, I will see goodness in everything. I will view the world around me, not from the depths of matter attachment, but from the heights of divine aspiration. Now only mentally concentrating to the point between the eyebrows. I will see goodness in everything. I will view the world around me, not from the depths of matter attachment, but from the heights of divine aspiration. Please pray with me silently. Lord, the universe was made in thine image of perfection. Help me to bring out that image in others by blessing them in thy love. Om, peace, and
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dikshini, and this is my husband, Ron, and we are very happy to be here with you for this very special Sunday, because this is the last Sunday of this beautiful year, 2018. And our topic on this occasion is the Divine Ascension. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. In the Gospel of St. John, chapter 14, we read, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. What is this I, and spoken by a master who has conquered every vestige of ego consciousness? Therein lies the mystery of true scriptural teaching. That I, that is no I, does it even exist? In what way is it different from the consciousness that animates other human beings? Jesus was not saying, look at me, don't look at other masters. He was saying rather, look at the divine self that is the essence of who you are, your very self. You are that I. No man cometh unto the divine consciousness except by first recognizing his own intrinsic divinity hidden behind his delusive ego. The Bhagavad Gita in the 4th chapter states, O son of Pritha Arjuna, in whatever way people accept me, in that same way do I appear to them. For all men in some way pursue the path to me. Meditate on the divine incarnations. Their lives and the consciousness animating them will be your stairway to the infinite. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind.
And I'd like to share with you from Yogananda's book of prayer poems, Whispers from Eternity. And this is entitled, I baptize myself in the waters of my tears of love. Through long winding pathways of self-doubt, fording mighty rivers that separated thee from me, trudging over endless wastes of barren lives, tossing dangerously on the rapids of many ambitions, arduously climbing steep mountain trails of desire, and carefully extracting myself from the whirlpools of alternating sadness and hilarity. At last, I have reached my journey's end. I look upon all those past travels with joy. Every struggle, every past agony has produced a flowing spring of joyous, grateful tears. In the sacred waters of those tears, I baptize myself daily with deep love for thee. I had an interesting experience, a very blessed experience. I visited the Holy Land, Israel, many years ago with Swami Kriyananda. And we went to the various sacred places where Jesus walked, where he was born, and where he was baptized at the River Jordan. And we arrived there at the River Jordan, and Swamiji asked if I would participate in a baptism. And I had been to the Holy Land before, and my uncle, who was a born-again Christian minister, had brought us to the River Jordan, and he wanted to baptize everyone. And I said, no. That baptism, people don't realize, is like a spiritual initiation. And so I refused my uncle because I wasn't in tune with him. He was a very fine and devout Christian man. But when Swamiji asked for me to baptize the pilgrims in the River Jordan, and he would afterwards baptize by putting his finger at the kustasta, at the spiritual eye, I was a bit in shock. And so I began to sing a spiritual. And we had everyone singing that song, Amen. And as people were coming into the water, I would baptize them, and as they would leave the water, Swami would baptize them at the spiritual eye. It was a very, very profound experience. And we're living in a time where we need to baptize ourselves, as Master said, in the tears of our devotion. Devotion is the greatest thing. Yogananda said to Swami Kriyananda when he first came to him, you're very intellectual. You have a very fine and sharp mind, but get devotion. And that devotion is something that we, each and every one of us, need to cultivate. It's something very personal. In the church that I was raised in, we always had this expression, you must develop a personal relationship with God, with Jesus, your beloved, or with Krishna. And it's so true. Life is very, very personal. We come into this world and we choose our families. A lot of people say, oh no, you don't choose your parents, but it's a lie. Everyone chooses their parents. You have a vibration that's similar, and you chose your family for a reason. And the ultimate reason is what? To find our highest reality within ourselves. To find that divinity, that Godhead within ourselves. And I know for a fact when I was born here in LA, it was interesting. I didn't know it at the time. I was born in 1952, 9 months to the day of Paramahansa Yogananda's Mahasamadhi. He had his Mahasamadhi on March 7th, 1952, and I was born on December 7th, 1952. And I didn't know this until I came onto the path. It was interesting. As a child, I had the inclination of eating butter. And this was sort of strange, but I would just take a cube of butter and start eating it on. And I thought, later I reflected, well, Krishna did that. Maybe I was brought up in India in my last life and had this inclination. I remember the first time that I smelled incense. And I said, wow, that's really a unique fragrance. And then I realized later that these were all tendencies that I had from previous incarnations. And then I reflected on my own parents, my mother and my father. And I reflected how great they were. They were great human beings. They were wonderful people. And I chose to be trained by them. It was a very sacred, and when you're getting a whooping, it's not a sacred thing. You broke this, bam, 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 pull down your pants. But I look back on it and I thought I wouldn't change a thing. All the mistakes that I've made, all the ups and downs, it's there for us to grow spiritually, to wake up to who we are on the deepest level. Now, when Jesus was born, they say he was born into the Virgin Mary, was immaculate conception. And Yogananda confirmed that. Yogananda said it was a true immaculate conception. He was an avatar, a divine incarnation, a descent who came for the salvation of mankind. It's so true. And I was raised in the Christian faith, but now from the broader perspective of self-realization. Self-realization, Yogananda said, is the coming together of the understanding that all pathways, whether you're Hindu, Buddhist, Christian, Jew, Muslim, all pathways come to the hub of that central chakra of self-realization. He said the purpose of life is to come to understand who you are on the deepest level. And the only difference between you and Christ or Krishna or Buddha, the only difference is the divine ones have awakened to that understanding through lifetimes of trial and testing. And we're in the process of this trial and testing right now. It's not enough to say, I believe. As Sister Gyanamata, Yogananda's most advanced woman disciple, she said, our religion is tested in the cold light a day. And so we're here. Everyone is here for one purpose, is to lift the veils of delusion. We think that the most important thing for us is to look at the celebrity news and what the Kardashians are doing today, and what's going on with the Duchess and the Prince, and you know what's going on here and there. And
Meghan Markle.
we want to catch up with what's going on. What's everybody's doing? The guys who made it, they don't have to worry about a thing. Because they've got lots of money, they don't have to worry about a thing. That's not true. They've got their problems big time, just like everyone else. Who was the billionaire? Howard Hughes. Howard Hughes said, someone was asking him, he was a billionaire at the end of his life, "You've done it all. Are you happy?" And Howard Hughes said, "Well, you know, I can't say that I'm happy. I've done a lot of things, but I'm really not happy." And this is what the masters have come to liberate us from. They've come to liberate us from delusion of false happiness so that we can attain that true happiness of ourselves. No matter what comes, the Master said, in the midst of the crash of breaking worlds, and we see around us a lot of turmoil going on in our world today, in our society. He said, get in touch. Get in touch with the self. And that self will set you free. No matter what comes, cataclysms, bombs, whatever comes, let it come. Get in touch with yourself. There was a story that Master, it was a dream vision that he had as a child. And he was in India in a marketplace, and he was buying and selling things in the marketplace, in the bazaar. And as a boy, he had a very deep spiritual inclination. So he was an avatar, just like Jesus was an avatar. He had come with an awakened state of being. He didn't have the Immaculate Conception like Jesus, which was a unique thing, but his parents only slept one time a year just for the purpose of having children. And so he was born into this very saintly family. His mother and father were both disciples of Lahiri Mahashaya. They were great yogis. Now, Lahiri Mahashaya was the first yogi who had a wife and 3 children of our tradition. We're not a monastic tradition in the classic sense of the word. We're a more householder-oriented tradition. And his parents, mother and father, were both disciples. So when Yogananda was born and conceived in his mother's womb, he was already an enlightened master. In Autobiography of a Yogi, he talks about how he would pray to God in his mother's womb. He was praying to God in many languages until finally he began to accustom his ear to the Bengali language that was spoken in his household. So he identified himself as Bengali, but he was far greater than that. You like that, puppy? And so Yogananda had this dream, and he was in this marketplace, in this bazaar, and at a certain point there was a mountain, and very much like the mountains here in Los Angeles. You know, Yogananda called this the Benares of the West. This is a very sacred city. People don't realize it's not just Hollywood. There's something very special here in Los Angeles. And if you ever look up at the Mount Baldy, once you leave here today, get to a point on the freeway or wherever you're going and look up at Mount Baldy. It's snow-covered. And so in this dream vision, Yogananda was looking up at this mountain peak. And everyone sort of looked up at it and they sighed, "Oh, but it's much too high for me." And they went back to the buying and selling in the marketplace. And several times people would stop and the young Mukunda Yogananda would look up. Oh, but it's much too high for me. Mount Baldy's over 13,000 feet. That's a big mountain to climb. My wife and I, we didn't actually climb it, but we took the tram up to the top of it, which is the best way to go. But when you get up to the mountaintop, you look out and you see the vast panorama from where you come, from the lowlands, from the valleys. And you begin to realize, this is heaven. This is the state of mind that I want to live. This is the state of being that I want to strive for. So in this dream, Yogananda, as this boy, he said, it might be too high for me, but I'm going to take one step at a time and go up this mountain peak of self-realization. And once he got to the mountain peak, he realized, this is heaven. This is where I belong all the time. And this is who we are right now. We have this great mountain peak in front of us, within us. We're really nothing more than the tip of an iceberg that's vast, has a vast intelligence, that has a vast capability of absorbing what is called cosmic consciousness. And this is something that is not talked about so much in the Christian tradition. It's the worship of Jesus, like in Krishna is worship, but Krishna also says you, and Jesus says the same thing. He says, greater things than you shall do. And we have the opportunity to become like Christ, like Krishna, as we grow in our understanding and realization of our oneness with God, cosmic consciousness. Now, cosmic consciousness is samadhi in the Raja Yoga. Samadhi divides up into two segments. One is called Sabakalpa Samadhi, and that's finding your oneness with spirit, with God in meditation. And that's what we're starting out as. We're meditators. We're practicing meditation on a daily basis. We're developing the concept within us of oneness, of seeing ourselves not just in all life, but throughout the universe, to become like Christ. Greater than, Jesus would say, greater, my ways are not your ways, saith the Lord. And so we ultimately have the ability to become one with the Lord. Be one with Christ. My yoke is easy, Jesus would say, and my burden is light. Well, what is the definition of yoga? Yoke. And you begin to see these little keys in the Bible, the Holy Bible. Krishna talks about them in the Bhagavad Gita very clear. Arjuna, his disciple, they're in this battle, getting ready to fight this battle. And Arjuna is saying, well, how can I fight my loved ones, my kinsmen? How can I fight Krishna? Krishna says, there is no death. And he says, I will give you a glimpse of cosmic consciousness. And on the battlefield, Krishna touches Arjuna over his heart, and his body becomes rooted into position like a yogi, very rigid and meditative, and he finds this fluid energy flowing in and around him into all life. Yogananda, in his autobiography, he gives a poem, Samadhi. Vanished the veils of light and shade, lifted every vapor of sorrow, sailed away all dawns of fleeting joys, gone the dim sensory mirage. And so this samadhi helps us to break the hypnosis of physical manifestation. And as we meditate on a daily basis, we gradually attain that oneness in meditation. And then there's the point of the highest samadhi, which is beyond meditation. And that's what Yogananda had. He had what is called Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the oneness with God while walking and talking and breathing. He was always in the consciousness of the Divine Beloved, giving kindness and love, respect to all. There were people who were out to kill him. He was in Washington, New York City, and he gave a talk. And he started talking against the mafia in New York. And afterwards, a hitman was sent to kill him. So Yogananda was walking back to his hotel, and this guy pointed a gun in his back. Why did you talk against those people that way? God doesn't like his rich children taking advantage of his poor children. I was sent to kill you. Yogananda gazed into the eyes of this assassin, and he looked with deep kindness and love. He says, you don't like the way you live your life, killing people. And he said, I demand that Satan come out of you. And just at that moment, the guy started trembling. He dropped his gun. What are you doing to me? And he ran through the night, completely changed. This is the power of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, or pure divine love, Christ consciousness. Jesus is crucified, dying on the cross, and what is he saying? Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. These are all tests. We may not have a gunman come and poke us in the back with a pistol, or being crucified on the cross. But we have our tests daily. And Jesus says, pick up your cross and follow me. And our cross is that karma that we've carried on from incarnation to incarnation and carry with us even today, which must be purified through daily practice of meditation. And this is what Kriya Yoga is all about. And this is what our journey is all about. I wanted to just refer to my notes here. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one can enter the Father except through me. Jesus is referring to our ability to get in touch with the universal Christ consciousness. Jesus the man, Christ the anointed of God. Krishna and Christ means the same thing. And Yogananda came, he said, I came to show that the original Christianity as taught by Jesus and the original yoga as taught by Krishna are one and the same teaching. But it's hard to come to that understanding unless you get to the point of realization, self-realization. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one can enter into the Father except through me. I was walking down the street recently, and I was watching these people with t-shirts, John 3:16. That's the verse that this comes from. John 3:16. And it's very true. I am, that Christ presence within you is the way. That Krishna presence within you is the way, the truth, and the life. And in order to attain that oneness of samadhi, or cosmic consciousness, no one can enter in except through that door. Yogananda called this the Christ Center, the Kustasta Chaitanya in Sanskrit. And this is the doorway. I remember as a child I would go to church and we had these images of Jesus knocking on the door. Jesus is standing at the door knocking. Well, that Christ consciousness is there, waiting for you to open the doorway of your third eye. To those who received him, Jesus said, to them he gave the power to become the sons of God. So it's receiving that light. It's that devotion of opening our heart and to receive that light into ourselves. That song that George and I, it wasn't a performance, it was just sharing. The Song of the Nightingale. It's such a powerful song that Swamiji wrote. And that nightingale is that presence of God as Christ within you that is ready to take you through the difficulties of daily life. Yogananda would often say, God is simple, everything else is complex. Take the time to cultivate that desire within your heart. It's hard to get up in the morning and meditate. It's hard to practice these things. But if you make the spiritual effort today, as Swami Sri Yukteswar said, if you make the spiritual effort today, everything in the future will improve. And what did Krishna say? Even the little practice of this inward religion will conquer great fear and suffering. And so, in this new year, make the resolution. Make the commitment, the determination to persevere in exploring your inner nature, because that is where God dwells. And as you awaken yourself to that indwelling Lord, you will find liberation, salvation, as Jesus promised, as Krishna promised. God bless you. Happy New Year to you. Nightingale, nightingale, sing of joy through the night. Teach my heart to impart everywhere your delight. Sing of moon rays on the rain. Sing that love's not in vain. Every grief, every wrong has its ending in song. Nightingale, nightingale, sing of joy through the night. Teach all men how to spin clouds of gloom into light. Without silence, what is song? Without night, where is dawn? Were it not for men's woes, who would smile at a rose? Nightingale, nightingale, sing of joy through the night. Let each tone silence groan, earth and heaven unite. Morning laughter, evening tears, snow and blossoms all fade. Joy must sing through the night to face change unafraid. Nightingale,